Hello there. Just wanted to give you an updated tour of my office, my desk setup. I showed you when I first set this thing up, but it's become a very long way since, so here are all the little choices, the new pieces of gear that I've added to really make it functional. And lately my priorities have been on color, making it better in every way, so you're gonna see a few different tools for color grading video, processing photos in Lightroom, and plus I use this desk as a studio pretty often, especially when I'm recording the podcast, so there's a few little pieces of gear around here to help me easily record straight into the computer and edit quickly. And before we get into all the details, a huge thank you to Herman Miller for sponsoring this video. Their Cosm chair is what I've been sitting in a lot lately. It is incredibly comfortable, fantastic back support, and if you haven't sat in Herman Miller chairs before, you may not know that, they're the best. Just go try one out, but I'll talk more about it later in the video. I think a good place to start is talking about the computer. This is a M4 Max MacBook Pro, 16 inches. To me, 16 is essential. I spend a lot of time where I'm not able to work at this beautiful desk that I love using because we travel quite a bit. So often I'm editing in hotel rooms and I need all of the real estate on a screen that I can. I definitely can edit on smaller monitors, but when you're working with video, for example, a lot of the screen is taken up by interface. So your actual video preview might become really small if you don't have enough real estate. And I've reviewed the MacBooks extensively. Right now, they are amazing. Whether you want to get a Max, a Pro, or just a baseline M4, they all perform incredibly well. Check out those videos if you want more details. And then I've got the Apple Studio display paired with it. I still think there's not a ton of amazing options for Mac displays that both support all of the in and out interfaces of Thunderbolt that I want. Like on the back here, I plug a few things in occasionally and it supports it very well. And then also macOS, to me, needs 5K. Of course, you can run it on 4K, but it is downsizing it in ways that blur the interface a bit. 5K is a must, so the Apple Studio display is just an easy go-to that is both beautiful hardware and very functional. But a strange thing here is that the display on the MacBook Pro is actually a little bit better. Like it's got better HDR. That's the one I go to if I really want to see, the most accurate image. And if I'm working in HDR, I can't even look at it on the studio display. So we're in this funny world where the MacBook Pros have just some of the most incredible monitors out there. And I've modified the studio display to add the Apple VESA mount. In case you're wondering, you can have this changed at the Apple Store. It's not really clear if you look on the website, but they will do it for you. And then you can take any studio display, put it on a mount like this Herman Miller Jarvis arm. It screws onto the desk, is incredibly stable, and now I'm easily able to move the monitor around, which sometimes I have to for a few different reasons, which we'll get into later, including the fact that I usually have a camera set up behind the monitor and I need to get it out of the way when I'm going to start recording, let's say a podcast or an interview. So it's very helpful to be able to quickly move it wherever I want. And I find if you just buy the default Apple display base, it's not flexible enough. You'll need to get it higher most of the time. So the VESA mount is a great way to put the monitor wherever you want in just a few moments. My keyboard and mouse may not be exciting. Overall, you'll see I'm not emphasizing aesthetics here. These are the things I prefer to use all the time. So it's an Apple Magic keyboard and a MX Master 3 from Logitech. I do sample other keyboards from time to time. There's good ones out there, but I just keep coming back to the Magic keyboard, especially the fact that it has Touch ID built into it, incredibly helpful. And then the MX Master 3, I've been using those since college. That just never changes. The leather mat beneath them is from Satechi. And if you need links to any of this, it's in the description below. I've got it all listed out in case you need to purchase any of these. The desk itself is very straightforward. It's from EQ3. It's almost more of a table than a desk. There's no special features here. It's just nice hardware. But much more interesting and important is this chair that I'm sitting in, which is made by Herman Miller. This specific model is the Cosm, and the size is mid-back. There are 3 different sizes, so you can have lower, mid, and larger. With the larger one, you can actually lean into it like a headrest. I don't relax that much at my desk, but it is crazy how comfortable this is. It actually has a few less adjustments, which I don't mind. These are fixed arms, and the only lever on it is actually to raise the chair up and down. But as you sit into it, it supports you very, very well. The lumbar support is incredibly well thought out. The whole back supports you exactly where you need to. And as you lean into it, it has just the right amount of give in the right places so that you're not going to experience any back pain. You're going to be well supported while you're working all day. But Herman Miller seating isn't just great in its day-to-day use. You can really think of it as a long-term investment, both because the health of your back matters, so you should have a good chair, but also because they have a 12-year warranty. That is a very long time that they are going to make sure that your chair is fully taken care of, and any parts that need replacing, they will help with it immediately, deal with any problems. Great customer care. I've used it before, and they really are just there to provide whatever you need right away. They'll send out parts straight to your house. But also keep in mind, like when it arrives, there is no assembly required. Like it's just one big package. You just take it out and sit in it. It's pretty great. When you sit in this chair, it responds to your body in a very balanced way. The wheels roll on any surface. It's just incredibly versatile, whatever kind of office setup you have. So if you want to know more, check out the links in the description. And thanks again to Herman Miller for sponsoring this video. Now that I've been in the creative production game for a very long time, I've had to think a lot about storage. And I found some fantastic new solutions lately, and they're both made by Glyph. So first, this big one is the Glyph Black Box Pro RAID. Inside, there's two 20 terabyte hard drives, giving you a potential of 40 total terabytes storage. You can set the RAID however you want, so you could have them be redundant, so you have, a backed up 20 terabytes, or you could have 40. That's how I'm using it, is just 40 available terabytes, which is a lot. And if you check out their website, you'll find it's a pretty reasonable price for so much storage in a professional grade drive. Like this enclosure is super solid. It's Thunderbolt. It has Thunderbolt in and out actually, so you can daisy chain and add another drive or even run the monitor out of the Thunderbolt on the back of it. Super versatile. And this drive is going to store a lot of my recent video projects, so I can just access the footage more readily. I actually delete most of my YouTube projects, like ones like this where it's talking heads. I may not hold on to all this footage. A lot of it gets deleted. I only really hold on to stuff like when we're traveling, family videos, things like that. But next time you're buying a drive, I strongly recommend getting the biggest possible because, well, I learned my lesson with this next one. So the other product from Glyph is the Atom Pro Thunderbolt 3 NVMe version 2. So this is an SSD drive, 8 terabytes of NVMe storage. So it's incredibly fast. And here's the thing. I had been buying a bunch of like 1, 2, 4 terabyte drives, and they were just all over my desk, and it was driving me crazy because I would start topping up 4 terabytes and then I'm like offloading 1 or 2 projects to some of these smaller drives, and I just need to always have enough SSDs available. Getting one that is big enough for everything, it is the way to go. Just buy the biggest you can possibly afford. Under this desk in this mess of wires, I tried to organize as well as I could, is a Satechi Thunderbolt hub that is tying all of this together so that I can just have one Thunderbolt cable going into my laptop when I sit down, and then everything else just turns on and works and is powered, and I don't need to worry about it. Now there's one thing on this desk that's not permanent. The Blackmagic Design micro panel was sent as a review unit, and I got to send it back. So I'm just playing with it because I've been wanting to buy one since they came out, and I kind of just wanted to know, like, does this make sense for me? Basically, it gives you access to all of the color grading tools within DaVinci Resolve, and I love Resolve. It's so fantastic. I've been spending a lot of time working on a new set of LUTs, so I was hoping the Blackmagic micro panel could play a part in developing that more efficiently. The reason I'm not completely sure if I will purchase my own yet is because I edit in Final Cut Pro most of the time. So I'll go into DaVinci Resolve, develop a look, export that LUT, and bring it into Final Cut. And the downside of the micro panel is it's not compatible with any other software. So that means it works perfectly with Resolve. Like, it is designed to be fully integrated, and I appreciate that. I just wish I could use some of the buttons reassigned to other apps just to make it a little more useful for me. So I know I like this piece of hardware. I just need to decide if I will use it often enough if it's sitting on my desk. If I was somebody that was editing full time in Resolve though, I would pick one of these up. No questions asked. There's a little slot in the back of the Blackmagic Micro panel that allows you to put an iPad Pro, and I think this is very smart. The idea is that you can run Blackmagic on your iPad and you could just color grade like that. What I'm using it for is a way to have my scopes and waveforms and everything running through Nobe Omniscope visible at all times on a separate monitor. And the great thing about Omniscope is you can use it for anything. So not only Blackmagic and Final Cut, which they have their own scopes, but I can also use this when I'm editing in Lightroom or Photoshop. Extremely versatile and way more scope tools than anything else. By the way, why are scopes not built into Lightroom and Photoshop? It's completely insane. Now, if you've recognized this room that I'm shooting in, it might be because I use it for podcasts. So often this is where I'm sitting when I call my guests. I usually use Riverside to do those recordings, and I've just started updating this setup recently. It's got a lot better because it's always been a struggle where each time I record, I set up something new, and I think I'm finally landing on a bit of a more permanent solution. So for one thing, this is part of the magic of that Herman Miller Jarvis VESA arm. I can just grab it and move the whole monitor out of the way. And now the camera has a clear field of view of me working here. I actually often have a different camera back here. This is the GH7 right now. I've used that sometimes. Sometimes it's the Lumix S5 II. I'm swapping it out depending on what I've been using lately. But it is sitting on the new Small Rig Tribex tripod, which they did with Potato Jet, and has been fantastic so far. You'll notice if you watch my Gear of the Year video, I chose it as my favorite video accessory of the year because it's just very well developed. It's the only reasonably priced premium tripod I know of that you can just release all the legs from the hand grip. Super powerful. Although I probably like it too much to leave behind my desk, I'll throw something cheaper back there and use that one on the road. And speaking of road, well, I've gone a little bit overboard with my video management here. This is the Rodecaster Video. What a fantastic product. I've been using the ones from Blackmagic before. They have a few different I/O devices where you can plug your HDMI into the back and send it through to the computer. What Rode has done here, I think, is way superior to the previous Blackmagic products. You can just manage a full studio from this. So I've got my XLR running into it. It's got great preamps inside. Rode is traditionally an audio company, so they have that fully handled. It can even handle wireless signals, like I've got the Rode Wireless Pro, and you can just send it directly to there without adding a receiver. So the Rodecaster Video is super smart in the features they've added. And then it's also a switcher. So I don't have multicam in this room, but if you add different cameras, you can just tap buttons to switch to them, add graphics on screen. This thing is amazing. Rode really outdid themselves. And in terms of audio, when I'm doing the podcast, I use the Logitech Yeti Studio. I find the audio is just good enough. It's not the best out there, but I love the design of it. I love the simplicity, and it just fits into my workflow very well. By the way, my mic stand is a traditional music mic stand. I'm not using one of those clamp-on podcaster boom arms, which I've tried 3 of them, and all of them have kind of let me down. So if you know the good one, like what's the best possible boom arm that doesn't break on you and supports the mic safely, let me know in the comments, because I'd like to find one, but until now I'll keep using this stage mic boom. Based on all the other desk setup videos I watched, most people have speakers on their desk, and you might notice that I do not. Most of the time, I just find the speakers in the studio display good enough for my basic YouTube watching or podcast listening. And then if I'm actually listening for something critical, I'm going to use AirPods Pro. Either the AirPods Pro Max, which I have available on the desk. This is if I'm really monitoring professional audio, or just the regular in-ear AirPods Pro. I use those all the time. They're just my favorite accessory. My lighting setup in here is very simple. This is the Amaran 150C. I have loved this series. The 300C is the one that we use on set most of the time. They're super compact, very affordable, great color accuracy, great output. This is the go-to, I think, right now if you need a simple light. And I do recommend always buying color because often you need to balance to, let's say, windows. That's a problem in here. The windows are quite green, so I need to change the color to match depending on the exact lighting situation. And to soften the light, I just have a mini dome. Because it's so close to me, I don't need a bigger softbox. For my backlight / rim light, I'm using the Amaran PT4C, simple fluorescent style tube, and then I just put it on top of an iFootage Cobra 2 stand that can just sit on the floor, so this can easily move around wherever I need it to be in the room. There's one little piece of gear here that I'm using differently than I've seen anybody else do. So I've been looking around and I was like, why can't I edit photos like I used to when I worked in a photo lab? Those have a keyboard with a dozen keys. They're very simple, and it lets you do everything you need to do as you move through photos very quickly and effectively. Why can't I do that in Lightroom? And I finally figured it out. So the key missing ingredient, which people don't seem to know about very much, is this app called Super Keys. Basically, you can add a bunch of different shortcuts to Lightroom. Things that I think should be built in there. For example, using a key to change your exposure or temperature or highlights or everything. Everything can be changed with a key, just like back in the photo lab days. So I mapped my Stream Deck to different keys on the keyboard using Super Keys, and now I have full control as I go through my photos, adjusting the brightness, color, temperature, highlight, roll-off, shadows, contrast. All of that is just available at the touch of a button, but not all the other stuff. I like to just put one simple preset on top of all my photos and then just adjust those essential things, not get too deep into it unless it really needs correcting, and I can move through so much more quickly. So yeah, this I feel like is the best use of a Stream Deck I've ever seen before. But let me know, how could I adjust the setup to make it even more perfect? Because like you, I'm always tweaking it. So thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.